As most of you know, I live on the outskirts of Los Angeles. Outside of Iran, there is no greater concentration of Iranians in the world, or Persians as many prefer to be called. Estimates say they number 300,000 to 1 million. The left-wing press has been sniffing around out here since the termination of Qasem Soleimani last Friday. There have been anti-Trump demonstrations here for sure. Only problem is the protesters haven't been Iranian. No, they were just the same people who protest everything a Republican does. The same people who knitted pink hats and took to the streets for no apparent reason when Trump was inaugurated. The same people who clogged intersections all over Southern California 15 years ago with signs reading, "Bush lied, people died." But where were the hundreds of thousands of Iranian immigrants? Well, they were at work, just like every other day, making a living in their adopted city, the place they jokingly call Tehrangeles. This is an article that appeared Saturday in the New York Times. To their credit, the Times reported what they encountered here, rather than trying to spin a typical anti-Trump narrative. This man is representative of the vast majority of Persian immigrants. His name is Ruzbeh Ferahanapour. He owns a Greek restaurant in West L.A. He was 8 years old when the Ayatollahs came to power. As a young man, he spoke out against that regressive regime and fled to the United States when he felt that his life was in danger. He is no great fan of the president, but has warm praise for how he handled Iran's downing of an American drone. That Donald Trump chose to spare lives in that instance impressed Mr. Ferahanapour. In general, these people love this country, especially when they think about what Iran has become under the Islamic theocracy represented by Soleimani. The Times did manage to find a real estate broker who criticized the administration's actions, but she also thought poorly of Obama's foreign policy. The reporter had to look to statements made by the National Iranian-American Council to find appropriately negative sentiments about the killing. Here's their Wikipedia page. The online encyclopedia cautions that the page is not neutral. Right here it tells of the organization's lobbying efforts to get the Iran deal done in 2015. So they don't like Trump. What a surprise. Monday, I reached out to a good friend of mine here in L.A., a beautiful Persian woman I know through the music scene. She's a fantastic artist and a hell of a lot of fun. We gossiped and kidded back and forth for half an hour. I guess that I just wanted to be sure that this current situation hadn't put a wedge between us. It hadn't. Years ago, I married into a situation that gave me a Persian brother-in-law. Hossein ran a business called All American Carpet Care. Since then, I've known that people leave Iran and come to Tehrangeles because they would like to be in control of their own lives. It's a pity that California has moved so far in the other direction since they came here. Listen, radical Islam is a hive mind collective. People are not attracted to Sharia rule because they enjoy thinking for themselves. Perhaps this is why American progressives always side with the imams over traditional American values. Progressives are so allergic to independent thought that they actively punish anybody within their own ranks who dares to question the latest doctrine. The fundamentalist left is exactly like any other fundamentalist religion in that way. The dogma is God, and the individual is a heretic. On my social media, my left-wing friends defend the right of a theocracy to impose Sharia law on its people. And they attack Donald Trump for killing the murderous supervillain who is exporting Iranian control all over the world. I always link them to another Wikipedia page where they can read what happened to the rights of Persian women in 1979 when the so-called revolution turned the clock back on one of the freest societies in the region. When they fall silent, I hit them with another page where they can learn that the crime of homosexuality in Iran can be punished with execution. That's usually where they call me a shill for the oil companies or a stupid Trumpkin. The other thing they insist on telling me is that with Soleimani gone, he'll simply be replaced and nothing will change. Nonsense. Brainwashed people need cult leaders, and the more charismatic, the better. Al-Qaeda had 2 leaders, but nobody ever mentions the bookish Egyptian doctor who was bin Laden's co-leader. Ayman al-Zawahiri never got tracked down and killed, but he couldn't lead. He wasn't compelling. When the charismatic bin Laden was sent into hiding, Al-Qaeda was functionally over. Look how fast ISIS collapsed when the charismatic al-Baghdadi bit the dust. The same will happen to literally dozens of proxy militias now that Soleimani is dead. All of the top guys since Ayatollah Khomeini look like they could be played by Sean Connery in his early 60s. Naturally, Iranians here are conflicted. They love the country of their birth, and like the Cuban community in Miami, they mourn the loss of freedom for those who didn't have the wherewithal or the guts to get out and come to this fantastic country. Like their Florida counterparts, Iranian immigrants here tend to vote Republican. Still, they don't want their countrymen to suffer, or the family members they left behind. They know that U.S. sanctions do hurt the ordinary people of Iran who just want to get on with their lives. Hell, in Tehran, they have to ration baby diapers and all sorts of everyday items. The inflation rate has rocketed to over 30%. The riots over there in November were sparked by a sharp rise in gas prices. This graph shows the drop in oil exports, the cornerstone of their GDP. So it's not easy for an Americanized immigrant from the once great country that now sits surrounded by U.S. air bases 8,000 miles away. There's no money in Iran for a war with the States, and fortunately for everybody involved, there's no bloodlust in the heart of Donald Trump. Nobody denies the man's faults, but in spite of left-wing propaganda, hatred of foreigners is not one of them. The man owns properties all over the world. Name me another president who had less to gain from sparking an international conflict. The regime in Iran will change, but it won't be our missiles that do that. What does it will be the endless evidence of a good and free country sent home in notes and pictures and Facebook posts from Persians here to Persians there. The current tensions will blow over. The good, hard-working people of Tehrangeles will be at the shop tomorrow, or at the restaurant, or at the real estate office, and their children, apart from their liquid brown eyes and arching brows, are indiscernible from any other American kid. Our job, yours and mine, is not to fret about whether killing Soleimani was a good move. Our job is to get our own country back in line with the values that made us a beacon of hope to freedom-loving people everywhere. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.